What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So what may be happening, I may post the video before that I did with the same look, scenery, but for this tutorial I'm gonna show y'all a brow tutorial. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Jayana. I'm a self-taught makeup artist. Thank you so much for joining. So I'm gonna do a brow tutorial and I'm gonna talk through it with y'all. Nothing really has changed. I think I already have a brow tutorial. Probably it's like a year old now, but nothing really has changed with the brows. I probably have just switched up the products or got a new pencil, but that's pretty much it. My brows are forever gonna be the same. I don't like to switch up things. If it works, I don't really have to do much to it. So yeah, let me show y'all this really quick brow tutorial. Any questions, any comments that you have, just leave it down in the comment section. All products today will be listed down in the description box. And give this video a big thumbs up if you like it. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope y'all enjoy this tutorial. All right, so first thing first I do with my brows is just brush them in place. I prefer using a pencil. I used to use pomades, but my brows are so dark and full, and I think pomades just make them look a little too fake. If they look too fake, I'm just gonna say that. Getting very stuttered, but I believe a pencil just gives it more of a feel in, and it helps with correcting my shape. And pencils are just easier, especially pencils that come with the spoolie and come with your product. I am a convenience girly. Something that it provides convenience is good enough for me, and I just don't have to use a lot of brushes either. So pencils are my best friend. So to start with, we're gonna take the spoolie, and I'm just gonna brush the brows in the direction that they grow in, like so. Now, with filling in your brows, you can create whatever shape that you want, but I do highly recommend that you just have a regular maintenance of your brows. So you either get them arched with a razor, you get them waxed, you get them threaded, you even go through the old school way and do tweezing. Whatever way that you find that is going to help with you. I know some people do microblading so they don't have to touch their brows at all. Microblading is a form of a permanent makeup, so it's kind of like tattooing on your brows, and they can last for up to 2 years. So if that's something you consider, especially if you have sparser brows, I would consider doing that. It's a little pricey, but it's something that's worth for 2 years. So like I said, consider that if need be. All right, so what I'm gonna do is take my favorite brow gel, and that is the clear brow gel from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I always get the miniature one. It's like $9, and it lasts me for a year. It lasts an entire year or longer, because I don't throw makeup away. Sorry. So I'm gonna take the clear brow gel, and I'm just gonna brush it through the brows. And I'm doing this to mold the hairs so that they can stay in place, especially once I place the product up there, and also so that the brows can have a longer lasting effect. All right, so we are just gonna let those dry all the way before we go in with any other product. So I'm gonna let those dry. If you have a fan, this process can go a little faster, but I'm gonna let them air dry, and then I'm gonna come back and show my next steps. Alrighty, so after letting the gel dry completely, and I do mean completely, you are gonna take some translucent powder. You can either use a fluffy eyeshadow brush, or you can go in with the sponge, and the sponge doesn't have to be wet, it can be dry. And I'm just gonna take a little bit from my top here and put some on my brush, tap off the excess, do that a few times, and just run this eyeshadow brush through my brows. And what this is doing is mattifying my brows, just to ensure that there are no oils or no extra product, because I don't really have oily skin, from moisturizers, serums, or if you went ahead and primed your face, any of that onto your brows. Whenever you're filling your brows, you just want them to be as dry and mattified as possible so that the product can slide easier. So now we're gonna take my brow pencil, and the pencil I'm using today is the NYX Professional Makeup Micro Brow Pencil, and I have it in the shade Brunette. I would have got it in the shade Espresso, but I think Espresso was a little too dark, and although my brows are dark, you want to match the shade of your brows, or at least the tone of your brows, that was just way too dark, and I think it just would have been too dramatic. So going in with the pencil, I am going to take this, and I like to outline the very bottom of my brow, and I just start at the very beginning of the brow, and we're just going to draw that line all the way to the tail, and I'm not going to go any further than the tail. And then for the top of the brow, I like to start not at the very beginning, which is right there. I kind of like to start maybe quarter of a way, probably less than that, a third. You know, we're just gonna say a quarter, because I think a quarter is less. I don't know my fractions. Draw the line. We're gonna match that line up with the line that you created on the bottom, not going any further than the tail. You don't have to be heavy-handed at all, especially if you already have darker brows. Now I'm going in and filling in any sparse areas with the brow pencil, and I'm being very light. Now for the front of my brow, I'm just gonna draw upwards and do some hair-like strokes, like so, and kind of go in the direction that my brows grow. Like, my brows don't grow upwards like that, they kind of grow to the side like that way. So I'm gonna match that. It'll help a lot. And when I'm in the front of my brow, I'm being very light. Like, I can barely see the makeup up there. So you may be looking, oh, you look crazy. No, I ain't through, I ain't done, chill out, chill out. So taking the spoolie, and I'm gonna brush that product going in the direction of my brows, and also brush the rest of the product in as well, kind of going in and blending everything in to make sure that it just doesn't look crazy. Make sure everything is blended out together. Clean up a little bit with your finger if you want. Like, I think I drew a little too high on top, but we're gonna clean it up anyway with some concealer. Alrighty then, now that we're done with that, now we're gonna move on to the concealer. Concealers, I like to use a concealer that either I like to use a concealer shade that is at least a shade lighter than me, or 2 shades lighter, but not too bright. I don't like a halo looking brow. I know some people do it really bright on the bottom and you match on the top. I don't like that at all. I really like it to match in generally. Now, it may not be the same shade, but the concealers I use are very similar in shade, very similar in tone. So I prefer using a concealer that closely matches, or it could be a little off, but it's not that bad because it's gonna get filled in when I put on eyeshadow. So I like using the Infallible Footwear concealer from L'Oreal. I really love these concealers. They're very full coverage, they're buildable, and they have a really great drying time, which is why I like using them for my primer, or using them as a primer whenever I do my eyeshadow. So I'm using the shades 415 Honey and 400 Caramel, and I take my little makeup plate right here and I just dispense a tad bit of those onto my palette. You don't need a lot either. And the brush that I'm going to use today is a very flat concealer brush. What do I want to use? Actually, I just had the brush and now I can't find it. It might be right here in my face. It is. Ah, there you go. Okay, so I'm gonna use this flat concealer brush that I don't know where it came from, but it's a little brush like this and it's shaped like that. You want to go for a brush like that. Now, you can pull off brushes like this. This is a Morphe M421. You can use something like this, but to begin with, especially if you are a beginner, try to go with the flattest brush that you possibly can. It'll just help with concealing out the bottom or tracing out the bottom. So I'm mixing those two on my plate, and I'm loading my brush up with the product but not too much at the same time because I'm going back and forth and wiping it off in the plate like so. And I'm just going to look down in my mirror and I'm going to trace out the bottom of my brow. Now, if this helps, go ahead and draw your line right across, hitting the very middle where your unibrow is. If you need to do that, go ahead. I still do that sometimes. It helps with tracing it out so that you could try to make them as even as possible, but they're not going to be identical, so it's okay. So, trace out the bottom. I like this brush too because I can use the edge of it and it gives you a very straight line. Try not to go too far into the brow and just highlight the bottom. Like so. A little bit more concealer and now I'm gonna drag that down onto the lid. Might need to get a little bit more out to mix me out some. I typically wait to do the top of my brows whenever I go into doing my foundation. So I just take my foundation and I just fill out the very top, I just conceal out the very top of my brows. Which I'm gonna show y'all today how I do that on camera. Typically I will wait to do whenever I do my foundation routine. Like this. It can be like this, or you could take your sponge and blend it out as well. Just be careful with the sponge to not touch your brows. So I'm gonna blend out the middle first to get rid of that line. And I'm just tapping it in. Ta-da. And now we're gonna tap in the rest of that product. So I blended that out as well as I could. If it needs more blending out, you just go back in. And now I am going to use that same brush that I use for my concealer. This is why I told you I don't use so much. And I'm going up with my foundation that I'll be using. Try to find a foundation that matches you the best. I'm using a good old Maybelline. I decided to pull her out today because I haven't used this foundation in so long. You do not need a lot. So I am just going to trace out the very end, or starting at the middle of my brow, and just going down and concealing, carving out the very top of the brow. Clean that up to make it look a little bit better, like so. Clean around the edges. I'm gonna do the same thing on my left brow. And you'll have your own way of doing your brows. You'll figure it out. We all have different shapes of brows and different lengths. Some are thinner, some are thicker. So you'll figure out what works best for you. And you'll also figure out which product works best for you as well. Taking some of that excess product, and I'm gonna blend the beginning of the brow out a little bit. I like my brows to look a little ombre-ish. So I like them to go from lighter to darker. Making sure I blend that out pretty well. And you notice I don't really go right there at the beginning of the brow. I think I do a pretty good job of filling in my brows with straight lines, so I don't really have to clean them up as much on top. But other than that, y'all, that's it. Your brows are set. They will not move because you went ahead and set the brow hairs before filling them in, and you let them dry all the way. And you also went in with some powder, so that mattified them, so they're definitely not moving for the rest of the day. If you have more oily skin and you just need the brows to stay, I recommend using like a brow freeze gel, laying down your brows, then with that, try that product. Or you could pull out some lash glue and go in with the lash glue before or after you fill in your brows, and your hairs will not move for the rest of the day. So yeah, y'all, that's the end of that. I hope y'all like this. I hope it was simple enough to understand. But if you have any more questions, I don't know what it was. If you have any more questions, just let me know down in the comments. Like I said, all the products that I use today will be listed down below in the description box. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Mwah.